Theoretically, all FPS games are pay to win. When you play a game like Valorant, you're playing with any and everybody from across the entire world. And likewise, everybody that you're playing with will be playing on a computer that consists of really good parts, really bad parts, and everything in between. And there's some age-old science to suggest that the better your graphics are, the more FPS that you have, then theoretically, the better you should be doing at the game that you're playing. I'm Justin from the hit YouTube channel urnotjustin, and today we are going to be talking about how much do FPS and graphics really matter on a game like Valorant. On this channel, we've talked about graphics, how close you should be sitting to your monitor, and the science behind all of it. And today we're going to be focusing on the hardware that we use to play Valorant, as well as the importance of graphics and FPS. This video is sponsored by LG, and they were kind enough to send me out an LG Ultra Gear monitor, which is really perfect for the video that we're doing today, to compare old and bad hardware with new and good hardware. To start, we have to understand Hertz versus FPS. Having the highest FPS possible is not just only a matter of how good your computer parts are, but also the monitor for it as well. This is a graph that NVIDIA did, and it shows the display Hertz and the GPU FPS. That is your monitor's refresh rate versus your GPU's frames per second that it can average. Both will need to be high to complement each other. If you have a really bad GPU, but have a really nice monitor, your monitor is not going to pick up any extra frames. And the same goes for vice versa. If you have a really nice GPU, but a really bad monitor, your monitor is also not going to give you any extra frames. And this can be visualized on the screen. You can see it's 60 FPS, it's much slower than 240 FPS, 240 Hertz. That's because if you're playing on 240 Hertz, each individual frame is being refreshed at 240 times in just 1 second. And that is what FPS is, frames per second, which can really visualize the smoothness of every animation that we see in every game that we play. When we look at the LG Ultra Gear, it's in 240 Hertz, and you can see that everything refreshes pretty cleanly. There's no ghosting, there's no skipping, all the frames are very well represented. And remember, since the LG Ultra Gear is 240 Hertz, that means that every second the screen is being redrawn 240 times, making the output of frames that my computer can do, which is around 500 to 600, really display visually through this monitor. And when we compare that to an older monitor with 60 Hertz, you can quite literally see that the bots that are moving back and forth are having a ghosting effect, and it is somewhat choppy as they move. And this is absolutely something that would hinder you while you're playing. And additionally, it's just not as pleasant to look at. And it's being shown right here in the direct recording of this. The motion is just not quite as fluid as the LG Ultra Gear's 240 Hertz with better frames. But what about the question on if graphics truly matter in FPS games? The answer is no, they quite literally don't. Kinda. To put it as simply as possible, the higher your graphical settings are, the lower your frames per second are going to be. And frames in every regard matter way more than graphics do. Again, kinda. And I say kind of because FPS may give you a literal gameplay advantage and make you play better. But the graphics that you play your game on can make you happier. And it's as simple as that. On the screen right now, we're playing on the LG Ultra Gear with 240 Hertz, and we're playing by 1920 by 1080p. I am averaging around 1000 FPS, but what I want to focus on is just how good the game looks as it is right now. When you're playing FPS games, you are going to have to make compromises a lot of the time so you can have the graphics that you want to have and so you can have the FPS that you want to have. And ever since I've been sent the LG Ultra Gear, I really feel like I've been missing out in gaming for a really long time now. The LG Ultra Gear is a 27-inch OLED monitor, which stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode, and that uses 7 million pixels that each emit their own light, as opposed to relying on a separate backlight like most other monitors do. And as you can literally see on my monitor right now, because it's OLED, it also has HDR, which is high dynamic range, and this just displays the most vivid and crazy colors possible. I quite literally am playing on vivid settings. You can see that there's all sorts of settings, but you can configure it to be however you want to on the LG Ultra Gear. I prefer vivid though because I like seeing all of the colors in their true form. However, this monitor is not just a 1080p monitor, this also supports Ultra HD 2560 by 1440. And as I've said, FPS games are all about making compromises and doing what you can with what you have, and the LG Ultra Gear really gives me the most of what I can get from how much that I'm getting from my machine. And it may be kind of hard to tell, but the colors are definitely more vivid, the textures and shadows look way better than they usually do, and this is all just a small jump up from 1080p to Ultra HD, all while giving me one of the highest refresh rates possible and response times possible, all while being on an OLED monitor. My machine is very good, my LG Ultra Gear monitor is very good. And I know that not everybody's situation will be like mine. Just because I wanted to, I turned the game up to 4K, and it immediately cut my frames right in half, which I think is pretty funny. But again, the monitor just looks really good, and it's not even just about that. It's about the lesson that I tried teaching you guys, and that's that you have to make compromises with your machine and your monitor. You're going to have to pick if you want to have really nice graphics that make your eyes feel good, or if you want to have FPS that's really high that makes you play better. Some people can have both. Some people can only have one, but at the end of the day, you can have a mix of the two that works for you. So I want to ask you in the comments section, what monitor do you play with, and how good is your machine that you play on? And what do you prefer, graphics or FPS, or even playing with a mix of both? What can your machine handle and what works for you? Leave a comment down below and tell me. And I'd just like to thank LG again for helping me make this video. It has been really fun and eye-opening, to say the least, to be playing on such a nice quality monitor, finally, after all these years of just playing video games on whatever it was that was available. You truthfully don't know how good something is until you can actually see it yourself, and the LG Ultra Gear is really that good. And some closing thoughts on the LG Ultra Gear monitor. Is it a really great monitor? Absolutely. But something that's so interesting about it is that since it's OLED, the way that it's actually quite literally manufactured, it's like you're playing on a TV, and it has that anti-glare screen. The materials are just as high as the quality that you'll be playing in, all while being an OLED monitor with the world's fastest response time of 0.03 ms. Click the link in the description or in the pinned comment, pick yourself up an Ultra Gear monitor, or at least check them out. As always, I'm Justin, and you're not. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and click the bell for notifications so you do not miss a single video ever.